what would be the difference between kind leadership and lean leadership? So here's what I'm going to say about that. People ask me all the time, is lean kind? And the answer that I always give is that actually lean itself is a thing. It's a way of working with people. It's a way of principles, practices, and tools to improve processes, to show respect for people, to create better results for customers, create better ways to work. But in itself, it isn't kind. And actually, it's not, people are kind. So you could have a person who's working in a lean way, who's a leader, who actually was not a kind leader. They were not kind to people. Kindness has to do with how we act, react, interact, and speak and think to people. So lean can actually, and we've all seen examples of this and know of examples, can be used actually kindly. But I think we've all heard of lean being used as a cost-cutting method or eliminating people, that when the process is improved, people aren't cross-trained and sent to different jobs within the organization. They're actually let go. So I'm sure we've also heard of leaders working in lean organizations who, when they go and see, they don't actually go and see and listen with open eyes, open ears, open mind, and an open heart. They're going through the motions, but we still have vestiges of our top-down command and control old style leadership. So the really important thing is to add kind leadership to lean leadership. How do we make sure that we're actually being kind to the people that we go and see, that we speak to them kindly, using kind words and a kind tone of voice, that we act, react, and interact kindly, that when we listen, we're not listening to the voices in our own head. We're listening to what people are saying to us, what their experience is. We're not listening only to see, well, how can this person improve the process to make the bottom line better? We're listening to that person as a whole person and reacting and interacting and helping them as a whole person. So in workplace management, Taiichi Ohno tells a great story about becoming a reliable boss. And he says it should take 1 hour or hours to walk 100 meters in the Gemba, because you're stopping and seeing what you can do to help people. Sometimes in lean, as coaches or as managers, we think we should ask people open-ended questions and push them out into that uncomfortable learning zone and leave them there flailing, right? To figure it out. But actually, I'm going to say that's unkind. What we should do is we should look and understand what each person needs and help them, because we want to become a reliable and kind boss. We want people to come to us and be able to tell us what they need help with, what they feel worried and anxious about. So instead of having a culture of fear, we have a culture of trust. That when we're treated with empathy and compassion, so empathy is the ability for us to put ourselves in someone else's shoes and understand something from their perspective. Compassion is the feeling that we want to do something to help somebody else, because when we put ourselves in their shoes and understand how they feel in their suffering, we want to do something. Kindness actually is the action we take based on empathy and compassion. And that when a leader actually treats you kindly with empathy and compassion, you feel truly supported and cared for, and like a whole entire human being. Every one of us has strengths. Every one of us has things we work on. Nobody is perfect. We want to be valued not just for what we're good at. We want to be valued as a whole human being. So, how does it make people feel? Well, what makes people feel that way? That they can be themselves. When we think about diversity, equity, and inclusion in the workplace, when we don't have that, oftentimes it's a failure of unkindness and a failure of leadership because people don't feel accepted for who they are. People feel like they can bring their whole self to work. When I worked in a very top-down command and control organization, we were actually told to leave our personal life at the door. Don't even bring it into the office. But interestingly, it was a customer service organization. And if I didn't bring my personal life on my empathy and my compassion, how could I have been empathetic and compassionate and kind to all of the customers that I talked with on the phone? They're all human beings, right? So we feel no fear. Where there's kindness, fear doesn't exist. And I want you, if you take something away from this, if we take one thing, I want you to really think about this. When there's kindness, there can be no fear. And I want you to think about everything you've been afraid of and think you'll be able to tie it back to some unkindness somewhere. If people were really going to be kind, you would never be afraid. So what are some, we're going to talk about a few characteristics here. Well, what are some leader characteristics? That person is present. When they go to see, they're actually focused on you, what's really happening. They're open-minded and open-hearted. Non-judgmental. And the people that I've worked for have tend to listen more than they talk, right? Because they want to know what I have to see, what I have to say. So outcomes. Well, no fear. When a leader is kind, I'm not afraid to go and say, hey, I didn't do this right, or I created a whole problem on this project, right? I'm not going to bury a problem because I know when I go to the person, they're going to say, hey, that's okay. Let's figure out together what we can do to help. And that creates something unbelievably important. And we heard about this. Someone put it in the comment, right? A culture of trust. When you go to work, or even think about in your own family, because we have leadership in families as well. When we don't have fear, then actually we can trust. And that depends on the kindness of our leaders, because even if we work in a lean environment, in an organization that uses lean, if leaders actually aren't kind and they use lean as a cost-cutting method, are we going to have trust? No, we're going to have fear. Outcomes also, leaders model kindness for others. So if I work for a kind leader, you know what? I learn to be kind. If someone speaks to me kindly and acts and interacts with me kindly and spends time with me and really listens, that's what I learned. And then I take that learning and use it when I'm in leadership roles. Because all of us, sometimes we're followers, sometimes we're leaders. I might be a frontline customer service representative and not a leader at my work, and I go home and I'm the head of my household. I'm a leader there. What we learn from other leaders, we take with us. And when we take that out and spread it when we're in leadership roles, actually we create a better, kinder world. So in my opinion, lean leadership isn't kind or not. We need to make sure that we add kindness, acting, speaking, and thinking kindly as leaders